Welcome back to the Balance Sheet Podcast, where we talk about all things in the world of women's wrestling. I am one of your co-hosts, King Ajar, my fellow co-host.
Billy, we got a busy show for you guys today.
We got a busy show, Billy, and I'm going to kick it right over to you. We had a different format planned for this week's show. We are in the process of breaking kind of our first ratings related story. I had to dig back into my TV past to pull some of this data, and I thought our viewers would really appreciate it and enjoy it. However, I hate to say it like this, but Black Friday happened in the WWE.
Yeah.
And it happens usually once a year or twice a year where you have mass releases. And this time around, a lot of women's wrestlers were impacted. Women's wrestlers that a lot of our listeners love their work, are big fans of, including yourself. So I'm going to kick it over to you so you can go through the names and kind of our promise from this day forward on we are going to make sure that these women who we've always been fans of, we're fans of whether they're in WWE, TNA, AEW, Stardom, Ring of Honor, New Japan, WoW, Shimmer. It doesn't really matter. And I know Shimmer isn't a thing anymore, but no matter where they are, we are going to make sure we promote them, let you guys know to go check them out. If you could stream their matches or go see them in your local community, you should, because the wrestling world is bigger than just the WWE, although they are kind of the sun around the earth of wrestling. So why don't you kick it off with who was released and kind of your thoughts?
Yeah, no, it was definitely a tough day. I think women's wrestling fans in general, because some men were released. You see that first tweet come through that this wrestler's been released, and it gets a little scary because at that point it's never just one. I think we covered a couple weeks back, maybe a couple months back. There was a mini set of releases where that was when Sonya Deville was not renewed, and Blair Davenport, now B Priestley, was released. And her non-compete, before I forget, her non-compete's actually coming up pretty soon. So we'll have some news on where she lands as she starts doing shows. But yeah, Friday, tough list. Dakota Kai, released from the main roster. She'll have a 90-day non-compete. Shayna Baszler, released from the main roster, will also have a 90-day non-compete. Kayden Carter and Katana Chance, both released from the main roster. One of the better, actual coherent tag teams that they've had over the last several years. Main roster release, 90-day non-compete. Cora Jade, released from NXT. That is a 60-day non-compete, correct?
30.
Or is it 30? It's 30. Yep.
NXT is 30, main roster is 90.
Yep. So Cora Jade will be free to work in 30 days. Gigi Dolin, NXT release, 30 days. Jakara Jackson, NXT release, 30 days. And then not a release, but a contract not renewed, Shotzi Blackheart. And I'll get into it. I'm a big fan of Shotzi. Her contract is not renewed, so she is available to work now. And I'll start with Shotzi on my thoughts. And she's working Twitter heavy right now. She was big on the indie scene. She's tweeting her fans. She's tweeting wrestlers who she's wrestled before, wrestlers she's never wrestled, and she's trying to drum up some momentum around her name. And I love it. And I think that that's kind of where we talked about our commitment coming into supporting these women. I only watched the WWE for a very long time, and then my favorite wrestler went into free agency, and I'd be lying if I said I wasn't rooting for her to resign at the time. Then she signs with NJPW or to do some shows there in 2023, and it was exhilarating getting to watch kind of the wings spread and her do a bunch of different things. And obviously she's in AEW now, and Mercedes is able to wrestle all over the world. And I this show is all about supporting that, not being beholden to any of the companies, but being beholden to the wrestlers that you want to support. So Shotzi could appear literally anywhere. We will keep you guys in the loop of matches she signs up for, if she lands in any major promotions. But she gets to keep the name, the helmet, the ballsy badass, all that will be back. And it seems like she's even working on making sure she's got the tank and everything too. So Shotzi, we'll keep an eye out for. Jakara Jackson, we will keep you up to date. There will be a name change there. We have no idea what that will be. Gigi Dolin, name change, and it will be back to Priscilla Kelly, which is what she was on the indie scene before signing with WWE. And we're talking through this just as like, crazy as it sounds, people are still like, hey, what happened to Sasha Banks? Like, so we really want to get their working name out there as soon as we can. Cora Jade will go back to being Elayna Black, which is the name she used before WWE. And if for those of you who don't know, she appeared in AEW a couple times. Shayna Baszler will get to keep her name. That's her name. So I'm pretty sure she'll be appearing as that. Kayden and Katana, I presume they'll have name changes. We don't know what those will be. And Dakota Kai will likely, seems like, be King Kota, is what it seems like based on Twitter. And or was she Ellie before, right?
Yeah.
So I'll kick it back to you. We could start to talk about where they could land. But as sad as it is, it's like the whole purpose is to make women's wrestling global, international, support the women wherever they go, and allow them to keep earning. If you're a fan of theirs, allow them to keep earning wherever it is that they go, and we're making the commitment that we're going to keep their names out there. But it's tough. I mean, it's business, but it's tough. It never feels good to see that list come through.
Yeah. So before I give you my thoughts on the releases, WWE is like the Kleenex of the professional wrestling business at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of other types of Kleenex, but when you think of tissue, you think of Kleenex, right? WWE is Kleenex. Quick story. I lived in Rockford, Illinois, went to a gym called Peak Fitness. TNA was in town in Rockford, Illinois. This was the only really high-end gym in Rockford, Illinois. All the wrestlers, I did not set this up where I knew they were coming. I was just there working out. I met Kurt Angle. I met Jeff Jarrett. I met Rhino. I met Mr. Kennedy. All of them that day. I was on my elliptical. Jeff Jarrett was on the elliptical beside me. Kurt Angle was on the other elliptical on my left-hand side. And I asked them, I said, like, hey, are there still tickets left to your show tonight? I want to come see. We're talking. And the fact that I still knew they were in TNA, they were shocked. Like, they were like, oh, so you still watch us? I said, yeah, I watch TNA. And they're like, and so when TNA was at its like heyday, like Samoa Joe, like they were big.
Yeah.
And they were like, we walk through airports and people are like, are you still wrestling? Like, are you still actually in the business? So if it's Kurt Angle and Jeff Jarrett, I mean, you got to think about women's wrestling, which is the smaller like base than men's wrestling. And at the time, TNA was doing over 1 million viewers a week on TV. And they still were being asked, hey, are you, still wrestling? Okay, so let's get to the releases. I'm going to be honest here. I think none of the releases surprised me, honestly. The one, except for one, and that's Dakota Kai. The Dakota Kai release shocked me, and here's why. There's an easy money feud that they have left on the table. And WWE is about making money and about drawing ratings and drawing views and etc. Dakota Kai is the linchpin in Damage Control. If Dakota Kai just turned on IYO, you have a money feud. You have a money feud right there, right? Because IYO, IYO is drawing a lot of numbers, ratings, minutes, and we'll get to all the rating stuff here later. but she doesn't have like a feud. She's just hot as IYO Sky. Like everybody loves her. But it would be nice for their champion that beat the two faces of the women's division at the same time to have feuds to sink her teeth into with a story. Dakota Kai was the story. So they released her. That shocked me because
Yeah.
I was like, wait, you haven't even told the story. And Dakota Kai is fresh. She can work. They were former tag team champions. They were in Damage Control. They had a 3-year arc. Why did you get rid of
Pres
her? Right? Why'd you get?
Presumably Kyrie and Oscar are back very soon.
Yeah, but I get that. But Dakota was kind of EO's
No, I
manager
mean that's what
almost.
I'm
Like,
saying. You
yeah,
keep
yeah,
her
yeah,
around for that. Yeah.
yeah. You had money to be made. And this happened to Dakota once before. 3 years ago, she returned in Nashville while she was quote unquote released. Like she was within her 90-day no compete window, and Bailey then had her brought back for Damage Control. So when I saw EO's tweet, and you guys can follow EO's X account, she seemed, I mean, legitimately heartbroken that Dakota was released. Like you could read it, and I could almost see EO crying through the tweets because they were road buddies. They were best friends. Like this was a legitimate friendship. So that's the one that shocked me. I would have been shocked about Cora Jade, except once I saw Roxanne and Julia starting to team, something was up there. Something was up.
Yeah.
It felt
Yeah.
like they kind of moved on, which the Roxanne and Julia as a team still doesn't make sense. Although as a team, they're averaging the same star rating as Sasha, Bailey, and Brooklyn. I just, want to point that out. I'm trying to be
You're trying to
funny
get me
here.
mad on the
Trying
yeah.
to be funny
Uh
here. But my point is with Cora Jade, that one is a little surprising because of her age. She's only 24 years old and she has a lot of upside. And, from the CM Punks to the Roxannes to the AJ Lees to the Baileys, they've all kind of sang her praises. So that's shocking. The other women that were released, I don't love it because I feel like you're getting rid of your mid card, and the mid card titles need depth to have feuds and have stories, and tag team division needs depth as well. But I'm not shocked by any of them. But the Dakota Kai one is shocking, and Cora Jade is semi shocking, and the rest I'm not. Like with Shotzi, and I know how big of a fan you are of hers. She cut a really great promo vignette that she did
she
where
did.
she kind of basically put it out there that she's gonna go back to her roots. And at that point, you kind of knew something was up. So with Shotzi, she was not released. They just simply did not renew her contract. And
Yeah.
they have the right to do that. But Shotzi is another person that I think they left a lot of money on the table with her because she was really hot with the helmet and the tank and kind of that whole crash test dummy thing she was doing. And then all of a sudden, they just took it away from her and she was never the same again. And then she got unfortunately injured. Um, the other,
Yeah.
go ahead. Yeah.
No, there's two things happening right now. And one of them we've been talking about for weeks. And it's a main roster thing. So there's something happening below deck in the PC, and there's something happening on the main roster, and it's creating a squeeze. Main roster, what's happening is the top of the card, and I mean championship, women who want to hold the women's world title. We've been saying for weeks it's so stacked that they're gonna turn the mid card for the women truly into side quests for top women. Liv Morgan is the
Mhm.
current tag team champion. Um, Lyra Valkyria is the Intercontinental Women's Champion, but Becky Lynch is going after her. And actually, the SmackDown title, the US title, is currently being booked as a true women's mid card, which I'm enjoying. Zelina Vega recently took it from Chelsea Green. I'm enjoying because it's something different than what else is going on everywhere else. Um, the more women, when your Stephanies get called up, your Julias get called up, and Charlotte's fully back again, and Bianca's back again, and they're it's very stacked up on the main roster. And then what's happening below deck is, I think, more interesting. I think the direction they're going is to put more eggs in the super athlete basket.
Mhm.
I think that they're putting more eggs in this, just all around athlete and teach them wrestling thing. And not to say that those women have not been incredible. Anyone I name here, I'm not saying they're not doing a great job. Sol Ruka, Kalani Jordan, they're the Bianca Belair mold that we've talked about has worked out so well for them. Um, Cora and Gigi and Shotzi come from an era where they were going through the indies and finding very well-rounded, complete package wrestlers, right? I mean, Shotzi
Mhm.
had this gimmick before she ever worked in WWE. Cora and Gigi, Priscilla and Elayna, we'll call them now, have had a lot of experience wrestling. They've had gimmicks, and they're indie wrestlers. And Roxanne fits that background, and kind of she's the standout of the group, and um, so they'll continue to put her on a pedestal. But I think the Shotzi thing, um, it's a type that they're squeezing again from the top and in the middle here, and I hate it for them, and I hate the way that they do this, and um, all that. But instead of focusing on the negative, it's like the better way to be a fan of Shotzi or any of these women is, okay, what can they do now? And be excited about that. And if they put shirts on PWTs, you should buy them if you're a fan. If they are wrestling one-off matches in NJPW or Stardom or Rev Pro or wherever, all the GCW, you should seek those out. Um, but yeah, I think if they're going to go after complete wrestlers, it's mostly going to be by way of Japan at this point. And then from besides that, they're going to farm the PC for super athletes. And a little bit of why I'm saying that, and then I'll pass it back to you, is Gigi and Cora um, both have tweeted that WWE leaked something about people not working hard and not getting in shape and all that. And we all know that every woman we've named here busts their ass in the ring. Um, they're not necessarily like uh, going out for bodybuilding competitions, right? That's not what it requires to be in wrestling.
Mhm.
But they've refuted some of that about how hard they were working, and the product in the ring shows they were working hard.
So I hate to do this because I think wrestling journalism, it's like an oxymoron. It doesn't really
Yeah.
exist. People speculate, they make up things, they quote air quotes, whatever. I
One
listen to
source, report on one
I
source.
listen
Yeah.
to I listen to what he said. And I gotta say, people really didn't listen to what he said. He
Yep.
said, I he goes, I believe based on what I know about WWE, they probably were let go because they weren't training hard enough. He didn't say somebody told him they were let go because they weren't training hard enough. There is a difference.
Yeah.
He is assuming something, but because of who the source is, everybody's going to run with it like gospel to the point where the own wrestlers, instead of just listening to the thing, are like going to get defensive and say, no, what are you talking about? Like I said, I used to know somebody who worked in that company. I actually know somebody who used to work at the PC. And let me tell you something. If you are in that system, you're working hard. You are working hard because it's like a school. You come to class every day, you got to do promo work, you got to do training, you got to do drills, you got to do weightlifting. Like it's a draft camp kind. It's like mini camp. It's like training camp, right? Like it's a legitimate thing. So all of the women, I am pretty sure, worked really, really hard. And did everything that they were supposed to do. But as you said, and I think what your point is the bigger issue here, which is you are doing this. You have a very, very crowded top. Look, we could go off the top of my head right now. Io, Tiffany, Bianca, Rhea, Charlotte, Becky, Roxanne, Julia, Jade, Naomi. That's 10 right there.
Didn't
That's
even say
10.
Stephanie.
Stephanie, Nia Jax, right? Like I didn't even say Stephanie, Nia Jax. Oh, by the way, Alexa Bliss is still nowhere to be found, but she's on the roster. And I'm almost willing to guess she makes more money than the other 9 or 10 women combined, right? Like, so
Yeah.
we have not even seen Alexa Bliss since her Royal Rumble pop. And then that little one. Sometimes when you record outside and, you have racing going on behind me. So I apologize for that. But yeah, you have to understand that you said this, I don't know, maybe 6 weeks ago. You said, look, TKO is going to be a business and they're going to look at their bottom line and their payroll. And if I'm paying you X and I don't think you're in our future plans, they're going to let them go. Dakota Kai is the one I don't understand, but I have to say that while all the other women are super talented, I will support them wherever they go. I'm a huge fan of Elayna Black. I'm a fan of Shotzi. I'm a fan of Priscilla Kelly's. I thought they had something with Katana, with the team, Kayden and Katana.
Yeah.
I'm going to support them. And this is what I would say to all of our listeners. WWE's ticket prices right now are ridiculous. Like, and I can say
Insane.
that, like, they are ridiculous. I don't think, and I feel like I do okay in life, I will ever go to another WWE event again because the ticket prices, it's just not worth it for me. Like, even if I went to WrestleMania and I got to see the triple threat match, which as the audience of this show knows, we're huge fans of, it's still not worth the price, the flight, the hotel. I don't think I'll ever go to a WWE event for the rest of my life, quite honestly, if these are the prices. So when AEW comes to town in this city in a month, I'm going to be there. If GCW comes to town, or if TNA comes to town, or if Rev Pro or whoever, I will seek these places out because the ticket prices are going to be reasonable for entertainment. And so I would advise everybody, I'm not saying don't go to a WWE show. If you love WWE and you have the money for it, go for it. But the ticket prices are getting to the point where they're going to price out the real hardcore fans and they want to get celebrities. So these women who are great competitors, go support them in what other ventures they do. And honestly, AEW has a really good women's division and their ticket prices are very reasonable. So I would say support them there. But I also think that, to your point, they're going after the super athlete. And Kalani Jordan, I think Lash Legend's going to be a superstar. I think they're going to push her to
She is, yep.
So they have, and we didn't mention Kalani Jordan, Lash Legend. We didn't mention Jordan Grace. I mentioned 12 women. I didn't even mention them. They were all recent.
Sol Ruca, double champion right now.
Sol Ruca's a double champion. They're loaded. They are really, really loaded at the top.
And they want
of the
Mariah
card.
May too.
And well, if anybody streams AEW Dynamite on Max, Mariah May was on the image up until last week, and she's not there anymore. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. No, I think, and so it'd be fun. We'll spend a couple minutes and speculate where some good fits would be, what you'd like to see. I'll preface it with this. No tribalism here, right? I'd love to see this person do that. If they don't want to do that and they go somewhere else, then I'm not going to get my feelings hurt, and none of their fans should. And maybe they can't. Maybe they got to go prove themselves before they can get to some of the bigger places that we'd want them to get. But the current version of them, where they fit, what do you think some of the best fits could be?
So right off the top, I think Cora Jade, Katana Chance should go to TNA. I think they would be really, really good in TNA. I think TNA needs depth. I think TNA needs some youth and some different type of women's wrestlers. And I think Cora Jade is really good on the microphone. She's a great presence. She has a character. I think you could build a heel division, or you could build a division around her being like the heel that everybody wants to chase. I think for Katana and Kayden, they could be the centerpiece of the women's tag team division. That's where I would send them. I got to be honest here, and I'm going to keep saying this until maybe I speak it into existence. I think Dakota Kai should be back in WWE. I know everybody says she should be in AEW, and I guess that's where she should go if she can't go back to WWE. But I just don't understand how they could leave all of that story off the table.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense to me. So I kind of feel like
Yeah.
she could still come back. But okay, let's say she doesn't. I'm gonna go. She goes to AEW, and I think the other person and I think Shotzi should actually go to Stardom. And the reason I say Shotzi should go to Stardom is, look, we have not even talked about this yet, and we should. The biggest star in probably the history. Well, it's either EO or her. The two biggest, or Kyrie. The three biggest stars of Stardom. They're all gone.
Yep.
Mayu Iwatani, as we recorded last week, left Stardom and now is in Marigold, right? And Stardom needs new, fresh faces. And I think Shotzi could be super popular in Stardom with the tank and the helmet gimmick. So if I were Shotzi, I would go to Stardom. Shayna Baszler, I think, should also go to TNA now thinking about it. Or she could go to AEW and maybe be a coach, a mentor. I think she'd be really good in that role. Priscilla Kelly, I would like to see. I think Priscilla Kelly should go back to Stardom as well, which is Gigi Dolin. I think that's where I would send these women.
I have a couple, I think all of that works. I think Shotzi should be a free agent extraordinaire, and I think Japan should be included in that. I think Shotzi should try to wrestle in as many places as she can. Probably not easy getting that tank around, but I think she's got the most fully fleshed out gimmick that if I'm selling tickets to a show, I feel like I can say Shotzi Blackheart and put a picture of her with the tank. And I'd like to see her go to Japan, frankly, because I think she's a skilled enough wrestler, and people have forgotten that about her. So I think it'd be really cool for her to go show that. I'm going to go hard in the paint for Shayna Baszler to AEW for two reasons. If they're going to stretch out this Death Riders gimmick any longer, let's add an additional woman. With Marina and her are both, MMA horsewomen. She is significantly more polished in the ring than Marina is, and maybe she can help Marina there. But Shayna Baszler is a hell of a pro wrestler. She picked it up better than Ronda or any of the four, and became a real good worker, that had really, really good matches on the main roster with Sasha and Bayley. Obviously, Kyrie. Oh, incredible stuff with Kyrie. She was fantastic in NXT. The only person ever, I think, to eliminate everyone in the Elimination Chamber. So I think Shayna, there's some real work that could be done. The realistic style would work very well in AEW, and it's different than any one that they have right now, or at least functioning at that level. Dakota Kai fits in AEW for me because she's got chops. For those of you who don't know, I mean, wrestling is Ellie. She's got, teeth rattling matches with Mayu Iwatani that you just watch and they're just stiffing each other, kicking, kneeing each other. She never got to show that side of her on the main roster, but and the injuries have obviously hurt, but she could go. So I think Shayna and Dakota would be the two I could see in AEW most clearly. Mercedes tweeted a picture from Survivor Series, and it was Toni Storm, Natty, and she covered Natty's face with Dakota Kai, and it was Mercedes, Shayna and Shotzi. So besides Natty, everyone in that picture, 2 of them are in AEW and 2 of them just got released. And then she added Dakota. So 3 of them just got, basically released. And she responded to a good friend of ours who does listen to the show. Shout out Chen.
Mhm.
She didn't mute Chen all those years ago, which is an inside joke that a
Because
handful of people will get.
she won't release the photo shoot of that. She
Yeah,
won't release the photo shoot.
the inside joke is she responded during the pandemic of like, what'd she say, bitch, who's working right now or something like that on doing the album, and it was in character and all that, but and then no notices for a long time. So Chen, we see you. I got a good laugh, and she just gave a great response. She just said agree to Chen's tweet that we need an all women's promotion that's women, female driven. Some people missed the between the lines there, in the United States. We
Okay,
need it in the United States.
okay, so can we touch on this for a second? This is something I've wanted to talk about on this show for a while. Sorry about that. My daughter came behind me because she wanted to get alcohol from the fridge that's right here. And I said, look, you're gonna go on camera, so go for it. So that's her cameo. Her name is Mariah. She just turned 21, so she can drink now. Here's here's my thoughts about this. So Chen said it, Mercedes agreed to it. But I have been saying this in our chat for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I have long said that if I had $20 million and I know I'm willing to lose $10 million and I could live off the other 10 for the rest of my life, I would legitimately look for an investor or investors to start a women's wrestling promotion that is not WOW, not Glow, but like Shimmer with higher production value. So I used to live in Chicago and I used to go to Shimmer shows. And I actually saw the girl everybody has a crush on from Boy Meets World.
Danielle Fishel.
Thank you. I actually
Topanga?
saw
Yeah.
Penga. I actually saw her at a Shimmer show. So
I have a funny Topanga story too.
so what I was saying is Shimmer had the right concept, but they did monthly shows, but there were no stories leading up to the shows. It was just matches. This is a television product that is like WWE, like AEW, but it's women's wrestling only. So you have a world champion, a mid-card champion, tag champions, and then you have feuds that don't need the belt, but they tell stories. And there's vignettes and there's promos and there's backstage brawls, and they have all the same type of matches that the men have, but it's a women's only wrestling promotion that would preferably have women in the think tank writing the scripts, talking about, appearances and all that stuff. And I've long said that the women's wrestling fandom in the United States is underserved because you can only really go to WWE and you're kind of at their beck and call. If they put EO on TV, yay. If they don't, you got to wait till next week. What are you going to do? You can't see EO somewhere else. You can't see Bianca somewhere else. Same with AEW. If they don't put Mercedes on, you can't go see. Now, Mercedes, you can see her in New Japan and other places because she has that arrangement. I think a women's wrestling promotion that runs episodic TV once a week and maybe does a once every 2 months pay-per-view or 3 months pay-per-view leading to a big show. But what you
4
do
shows a year, something like that. Yeah.
But what you do is you start it off where you pick a city that's easy for travel to travel a talent to travel into, like a Chicago, like a Philadelphia, like a Nashville, where you have a international airport and you get them to fly in and you tape it. And you have kind of the same crowd every week, like NXT, so you can build these characters with this audience, and this audience will translate on TV on who's getting over, who isn't. And then when they travel, you'll see who's really, really over. To me, this is long overdue. I tweeted, I made a joke because I know Bill Simmons is a huge wrestling fan and he has a lot of money. And I said, hey, you like to produce content, Bill. This is the type of thing you should be dipping your money into. Not, I don't need to see another documentary about the Celtics. My point is, this is really thing. So I actually went on Kickstarter and I registered a women's wrestling promotion idea for Kickstarter because I thought about it. Let's say there's 30,000 women's wrestling fans and they all contribute $10. That's $300,000 to shoot a pilot episode. Like, we have the power now to create our own content, like what we did with this show. We should be looking to do that. Put your money where your mouth is. Instead of buying a WWE t-shirt for $50, you know, we should all put a Kickstarter together and shoot one episode and see if we could shop it around. Because honestly, there's just too much talent in the women's wrestling space where they're not all going to be served. And look, if you watched ESPN's coverage of WrestleMania, CM Punk was one of the people doing the interviewing. And they asked him, they said, like, what do you think about NXT? And he said, I got to tell you something. When I go to NXT and I look at the women, if I were the top women on the main roster, if I'm IYO Sky, I'm Bianca Belair, I'm Rhea Ripley, I'm scared of these women in NXT because they're coming for me. But when I look at the men, I'm not scared. I'm not worried about my spot. I'm like, they can't take my spot. But he's like, the women are so much better at this at the NXT level than the men are. Man, if I'm the top women, I'm scared. So the point is there's too much talent out there and they're not all being showcased. So that should be an idea that somebody should do. And we want credit for it.
The releases prove it. And, Twitter is, everyone takes everything so exactly serious. And, Shen and Mercedes just replied, agree. It's like, tweets are short for a reason. You're not going to do a fully fleshed out thought. But yeah, Shimmer was fantastic. You could call it, if you got Shimmer involved, you could restart up Shimmer. The difference now, though, is streaming and all of the different streaming platforms it's such a bigger opportunity now to start small than it would have been back in the day, where you would have had to have a network say, yeah, I'll put you on TV. Could shoot a pilot that was great. If the network TV wasn't going to pick it up, wasn't going to do you any good. You got a lot better chances now with whether it's on YouTube, where we put this, and then a lot of the streaming platforms. Women's sports, it's proven, are exploding. Caitlin Clark, gigantic. The women's Olympians were outdrawing the men's Olympians by significant amounts, not 5%, significantly outdrew the men.
It's funny because I'm sitting here in my pergola and I have a TV right there, and I was watching the Caitlin Clark game. And her Indiana Fever team was playing Brazil, the national team. That was a bad basketball game. I think they won like 100-40. But the tickets sold out for that in 4 minutes.
Yep.
Now, is there any women's professional wrestler that's Caitlin Clark? No, because there isn't a single women's athlete or even maybe men's athlete currently in any sport that is Caitlin Clark, other than maybe European, like, soccer players, because she's a supernova. But think of our wrestling idea. Think of Chen's idea. Think of what Mercedes tweeted. Mercedes can independent contract to other promotions. So, okay, you raise, $2 million. You go to Mercedes, we give you $100,000. You're going to be the main event of our first show. You just throw that thing on YouTube, you're going to get, 150,000 views. You're going to monetize it right away. Somebody out there in a streaming platform, Tubi, Paramount, somebody's going to say, "Woo, this is something we can sink our teeth into." And then when they put their money up and it's real production value, you have something. I just don't understand why Tony Khan, with all his money, hasn't done this. Because, Tony Khan is a TV guy. He's very wealthy. He has a lot of money. He could do this in his sleep. But to me, it's something that is long overdue, and somebody's going to do it, but it cannot, and no disrespect to WoW, not even to Glow. I used to watch Glow when I was a kid. It has to feel like authentic professional wrestling. Everybody's going to say Stardom. Yes, but Stardom is already established in Japan, but we need one in the United States.
There's a language barrier.
There is a language barrier. And look, some of my favorite all-time wrestlers are from Stardom. Io, Kyrie, Asuka, not Asuka, Mayu. But the Io that you had in Stardom is not the Io now you have in WWE. She's modified herself, but it's good for her because she's a bigger star. America is ready for this. This is a product that is ready to serve. And so you talk about ratings and you talk about Caitlin Clark. And so I'm going to pivot here to kind of our breaking story that we've been working on for a couple of weeks, or I've been working on. So I used to be in the TV space. I used to be able to get ratings information like anybody else. You read WrestleNomics or Observer, any of those folks. But I used to get it at a different level because I used to have direct connects inside all of these TV networks because my client was a cable provider. So cable providers and TV networks have to be partners. And so I would know every show's rating and every demo and which demo works and all that. So I haven't been in that space for about 3 years because I've been in healthcare, but I still have all my contacts. So what triggered me to do this research was I remember the Raw where Stephanie Vaquer showed up to fight Io. And I just said to myself, this is so random. This is so unlike Triple H to just not advertise it, not announce it. He didn't even announce the Io segment. It was just Io came out, everybody's cheering her, Stephanie's music hits, and then they have a match. Great match, by the way. I thought, this is odd. So I messaged a couple of people. I messaged somebody who used to work in WWE. I messaged folks who work in TV space. I know folks who work, with Netflix. And I was like, hey, this just seems so random to me. Why did this happen? A couple of days later, they sent me back bits and pieces of information. I'm going to share it here in a sec. And it is not random. It is the furthest thing from random. It is very calculated and it's very planned. And here's why. So NXT in the United States is available on the CW. CW is a broadcast channel. It's available in pretty much most homes, easy access. They do really good numbers. But NXT internationally is available on Netflix. So whether it's Chile, Brazil, China, or Japan, India, it's available on Netflix. So I said, why is it not random? And they sent me back some data. So I'm going to read it here. Now, this is NXT international, not in the United States. So I want to preface that. International. Okay. So the way streaming works is it's not rated. Ratings aren't the same like they are in linear TV, where it's like we believe that 700,000 people averaged watching the whole show, but at times maybe 900,000, whatever. Streaming is about minutes, right? 8.x million minutes were viewed. You aggregate that, you do the math, you come up with a viewership number. Okay. So internationally, Stephanie Vaquer's segments on NXT generate 10 to 20 times the minutes watched compared to any other segment on NXT. 10 to 20 times. So let's say a Billy segment gets 10 minutes, 10 views or 10 minutes of viewing. Stephanie will get 200 minutes across the world on Netflix. Number 2 in this is Julia, but she's a distant second to Stephanie. So then you start to look at American NXT or how it's set up. And then you start asking, why is Stephanie always main eventing? Why is she always opening the show? Because she's also the biggest draw in the United States for NXT. But she's not as big a draw in the United States as she is international. And so when she showed up on Raw, okay, the episode with her, since they went to Netflix, 3.6 million global views. That was number 2, only behind the debut episode. That was number 3, but number 2 in hours viewed, 8.7 million hours viewed for the episode that Stephanie was on. And she did have, in terms of minutes watched, her and Io had the highest segment. So this is why Stephanie has been on Raw 2 weeks in a row. It is not random. And yes, you can aggregate this. You can call this us breaking news. But Stephanie Vaquer could be the next supernova draw for professional wrestling. And you can make your own opinions about why that is. I think she's one of the 3 best women's wrestlers in the world. To me, I don't care how you rank it. It's Mercedes Moné, it's IYO Sky, it's Stephanie Vaquer. Mayu Iwatani is probably in the top 4. Bianca, those are my 5. And I'm probably missing somebody. Chris is great. There's a lot of great women's wrestlers.
It's stacked, but the three is presentation wrestling. It's yeah.
And Stephanie has an it factor to her. Like, she has 1 million Instagram followers. Gunther, who is the world champion, has half of her Instagram followers. Now everybody's gonna be like, of course, Raja, Instagram. Like Stephanie Vaquer, Gunther. Of course, one's gonna have more Instagram followers. But her 1 million followers like everything. She gets 300, she's getting 75, 80,000 likes on her post, 100,000 likes, 300,000 likes. I think she is, well, I don't think, the data tells me that she is the next wrestling supernova superstar when it comes to ratings. And that's also why I think other women in that NXT system maybe became expendable to HBK and Triple H, because in Stephanie, and by the way, Julia does very well. She just doesn't do that well. Like, she does well, but she's not doing Stephanie numbers. And that's okay, because at least the number 2 person is also a woman, and that's great for us and our content.
Yeah.
But now that I've given you this information that you only got from me before we started recording, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. And it's an interesting, it goes with everything we've been talking about, because when NXT started getting very good ratings on CW, you said it was one of the best deals in television, because they pay very little for the rating that they get, and the quality, and that it's a new episode every week. And in the grand scheme of things, it's very, very little investment for what it drives at a television level. Well, then you look at internationally, if that's, that's what she's doing, and people are seeking out NXT, which is not a brand that's an international, it's not WWE, it's NXT, right? So everything is measurable. And it's so funny, is before this podcast ever existed, we've got our group chat, our group of friends. We are all data people. And some people are like, why don't you just enjoy wrestling? Well, you know what? I like data. And I also like to prove that my favorites are doing a good job, and that they're, that they should be paid more, they should be featured more, they should be world champions. So, numbers talk. And no matter what you say about WWE, no matter who's in charge, numbers like that are going to get people's attention. And it's going to be interesting to see if that continues with her on Raw, how quickly they would force her up to the main roster. Because then the other things that come into play is, what is a Raw minute versus a NXT minute internationally for them, and how they value each of those things and all that. But or does it not matter at all, and they just feature her on both for the next year because they can?
Yeah.
But it has been a huge signing for them. She's come out and admitted that she took less money, and they're making money hand over fist, from her appearances. It's exciting because it's a woman who's, again, charging to the forefront. and just to clarify what you just reported, she's not the top drawing woman on NXT. She's probably lapping the men by an unseeable amount, right?
She's the top. She is the face of NXT. She is the featured attraction. She's the top draw. She's the top merch person. He is the star of the show, right? Like, when you see the credits in a movie and the first person who's the star comes up, that's Stephanie Vaquer. She is the star of NXT, right? And everybody else is the co-star, but she is the star because when she was not on NXT, the ratings were not good. Like they dropped. They dropped. Here's the other thing. The other woman who's doing really, really well in this Netflix era is IYO Sky because IYO is international and she's going to attract an audience from, worldwide.
Yeah.
Okay, if you notice NXT, the week Stephanie didn't wrestle or really appear, who appeared? IYO did. Like IYO was on the main event of NXT last week and they still did a good rating because they know that it's kind of it's not that I haven't gotten any IYO data, but like the numbers are that these two women are part of a group of women that draw numbers and we got to keep them going. IYO is fighting Roxanne tomorrow on Raw. That was already announced. So, but back to Stephanie, it's one of the better WWE signings of all time. It's one of the better WWE signings of all time. She is exactly what they have needed and wanted for a while with the Hispanic community. But she checks every box, and her fan base is not just it's not just Hispanic, women or men. She is an international draw. And yes, I follow her on Instagram and I do look at her posts and stuff. And I read the comments. And these are individuals from all walks of life, from all ethnicities, who are fans of this woman. She has an it factor that you cannot teach or pay for. And the truth is, I hope Triple H, Shawn Michaels, TKO, I hope that you've already redone her contract. Like, I'm not saying they're going to do it. Maybe they have and they'll never tell us. But I feel like if I were them, I would just like, you know what? I'm not even going to let this thing get to free agency. We're just going to rip up your like what, by the way, look at the beautiful banner in the background. I just want everybody at home to point out that two Super Bowl champs. They ripped up Saquon's contract. They said, you did such a good job for us. We're going to give you a new deal. That's what they should do with Stephanie Vaquer, because I think it's just at a point where they're going to build a division around her. Like, if I were to tell you, Billy, by this time next year, she's the biggest star in the division, would you believe me? You would believe me, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Something that she's locked into that it's funny is the two examples you gave, we live in a world of viral moments. Something that can be clipped for 3 to 6 seconds makes an impact maybe at a bigger level than a 15-minute, 4.5-star match does. And Stephanie has obviously been going viral with her Devil's Kiss move, along with Booker T's reaction to it. You've said many times that she's starting to even feed into that now. And then IYO has the emote thing that is becoming a viral thing for her, and you got fans behind her going crazy as well. These are some of the ways that you get over, continue to be over, get hotter than that even. And so no, it wouldn't shock me at all. In fact, I'm close to predicting that she owns one of the shows next year, right? Like, Rhea owns one show and she owns the other. Rhea would be the one person that I would say I'd be pretty shocked if Stephanie vaulted ahead of, not because of anything shortcoming I see from Stephanie. I'm just saying that Rhea is also very well. Rhea's Rhea, right? So
Rhea's her own
superstar.
supernova. Yeah, she's her own draw. But I mean, let's just play this thing out. That's a match that I could legitimately see main eventing WrestleMania now. I always thought it was Rhea against Bianca, and it's still probably going to main event, and it should. But I feel like Stephanie versus Bianca would equally be as enticing, or Stephanie versus Rhea would be equally as, or Stephanie versus Io. But Stephanie versus Io did a monster number on Netflix, right? In the minutes. So
Yeah.
Stephanie is really hot as a performer, as a character, as she has aura. And the Devil's Kiss move. I mean, hey, you know what? Kudos to Booker T, because a commentator's job is to get the moves over, and he has gotten that move over. Because you know what? She did that move in AEW against Mercedes Moné, and I don't remember the commentators doing anything to make me think it was something special. As soon as she comes to
Yeah.
NXT, Booker T made it over. But yeah, I'm very happy for her. She made obviously the right decision to go to WWE. They have absolutely put the rocket behind her. And I think we can all be honest about this. I don't think she'd be the big star she is in AEW. Not this
Yeah.
big.
Yeah. Some of my, you know, good work, by the way. I mean, that's an incredible piece of information, and just following your instincts on, hey, so unlike WWE, why is she here? And asking that question.
Mhm.
Um, it brings up another subject, and it relates to EO. And you said she's wrestling Roxanne tomorrow. Um, it is also very unlike WWE to do what they're doing with IYO Sky, and to coin a phrase from the internet. Um, they have just decided to let EO cook, and
Mhm.
it's fantastic. It's exactly the right thing to do, but I cannot remember the last time that WWE basically let their women's champion wrestle um kind of, I don't want to say dream match after dream match, but basically put her in hot put them in highly competitive long matches on free TV, and we're doing it consistently. I mean, if you were a Sasha Banks fan or an Asuka fan, this is the type of booking you always wanted when they were champion. Just let them wrestle. That's how they get over. That's how they stay over. Um, a little bit during the pandemic, Sasha and Bailey got to do this, and look what it did for them. But they were going to NXT. They were wrestling. They were doing a lot of fun matches. But we got Io versus Stephanie Vaquer. That could have been a pay-per-view match. It will still be one day, probably. Io versus Roxanne. Io and Jordan, last week versus Roxanne and Julia. I mean, these are matches that could have been built to, and
Mhm.
they've just decided to let Io cook, and it's abnormal. It's not how they usually book the women's title.
So as a Mercedes Moné, but in WWE Sasha Banks fan, it is annoying on the surface that they never let her do this, because this was my idea for her for 5 6 years. Like when she won the title in 2020, when she beat Bailey, my idea is she just wrestles every woman on the roster every week and just gives
And
us
we
a
got
banger
one.
match.
We got two Carmella matches. That's it.
We got two Carmella and a Nia Jax TV match that was not as good as their Boston match, but it was a good match. Um, I
Shout out to
I
the Carmella match, by the way.
Yeah,
Great
Carmella match
match.
is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It drove me crazy because I'm like, her gift, Mercedes Moné, is she's a professional wrestler, but she's gifted in the ring to want you to watch her matches. Like she's as good as anybody, and she tells the story in the ring, and that's what hooks you. Okay, great. So how would you get her more over? Is you have her wrestle all the time. Great.
Right.
They never did that. They never did that with Asuka. They never did that with Charlotte. They never did that with Becky. They didn't do it with anybody. So now Io comes along. Io's white hot. Io's as good as anybody in the world. And they're like, you're a great wrestler in the ring, and that's how you get over. Bet. Stephanie, come on down. Oh, we're going to send you to NXT. Let's go. We're gonna have you fight Roxanne tomorrow. We're probably gonna have you fight Julia soon. We might have Oscar come back. We might, set that like they're doing everything with EO that I have wanted them to do with Sasha Banks Mercedes for years. So kudos to them for actually doing it and getting it right. I'm happy. It's exactly what because EO Sky is never going to get over the way Rhea Ripley got over, or the way Bianca Belair got over, or maybe the way Stephanie gets over. EO's going to get over because EO, in many people's mind, the best women's professional wrestler. And by the way, the guy whose ratings we don't want to discuss said she's the best wrestler in WWE, period. Male or female, he has said she's the best. So if that's the case, how does that person get over? In the ring to wrestle. So yes, kudos to them. And you're right, they're letting EO cook, and the meals are magnificent. And I think the match with Bianca Belair on TV in September in Portland is what changed everything. I don't think they expected the viral reaction from that match. And when they got it, they're like, okay. Because I don't think EO was in their long-term plans until that match. But now they've done right by her, and I couldn't be happier as a card carrying president of the EO Sky fan club.
Yeah, they're almost booking her. Yeah, if you think to the best men's intercontinental or U.S. championship runs, the working titles, with open challenges and all that, they're booking it like that, and it's frankly it's fantastic. So, those are the releases were a big story. You just broke a big story. We'll see how many people pick up on that, and maybe we'll do a little bit better job of marketing what it is we do here, so that the word gets out there. Not for us, but mostly so people understand what an incredible run Stephanie's on, and how truly popular she's becoming. As we kind of get towards the end of the show here, Mania lull, pre Double or Nothing on the AEW side. We still got, almost a month to get to there. We do have Backlash coming up. The big news for me coming up, that we probably should touch on, is outside of the major organizations, but certainly not outside of the major names of women's wrestling. Mercedes will be wrestling, defending her NJPW Strong Women's Championship at Resurgence against Mina Shirakawa and Azumi. I had circled this as one I was likely to try to attend. I think you did too. Unfortunately, neither of us will be going, but we will be watching. What do you think is going to happen?
I still don't think they're going to take the belt off Mercedes. I know everybody says this is the way to get the belt off of her in a three-way. Mina wins the belt, brings it to AEW. I don't think so. I think Mercedes is going to retain. I don't think Mercedes is going to lose that belt for a while. And the reason I say that is because she's the drawing card for New Japan in the United States. They're not going to get the same ticket sales with Mina or Azumi. I love both of them as wrestlers. They're just not going to sell the same amount of tickets. Mercedes is going to sell tickets. As champion, you're still going to open up many other opportunities because New Japan, by the way, does own Stardom. So there is going to be opportunities to get Mercedes versus Saray, Mercedes versus Siri. You can do all these other dream matches. So my opinion is Mercedes is going to pin Azumi. I had the joke from their match where she kept saying AZM. I think Mercedes pins Azumi. That's just what I think happens. I think she retains. I think it'll be one of the better matches we've seen, in this month. If you look at the Backlash card, I don't even know what the women's match is right now. I mean, everybody assumes it's Tiffany versus Nia, but that's not official.
Becky Lyra's official, I think.
Becky Lyra's official. Tiffany is going to face the winner of of Jade and Naya, and she gets to defend the title against her. That's also going to be on Backlash. But I think this is going to be a great match. I want them to get 15 to 20 minutes. I want them to tell the great story, but I think Mercedes retains. I
Yeah.
don't think she's going to lose until whatever happens with her at All In. You know, is it her versus Tony? Then I think she still needs to keep the belt because I think she needs to win Tony's belt and just be this all encompassing grand champion and has every belt. And I think that's a great story.
Yeah. There's a lot of pushback. I'll touch on two things real quick. For Resurgence, I also think Mercedes wins. She should win. It's funny, WWE fans try to dunk on her sometimes and be like, oh, she's wrestling in front of 2,000 people or 2,500 people. The NJPW shows are 1,000 people or 1,500 people when she's not wrestling. And if it's 2,500 when she's wrestling, it actually proves her point very clearly that she's a draw because that is a gigantic percentage gain, almost doubling the attendance whether she wrestles or not. They're doing the show, so they want the 2,500 number more than they want the 1,500 number. So that 1,000 tickets does matter. And I know the pay-per-view buys are much higher when she's wrestling as well. She also has the match against Hayter coming up. The most I've seen in recent time, it is fitting the AEW Mercedes women's wrestling fans. You got some AEW long-term fans saying, you know, Jamie Hayter should be the one to beat her. She's an original. It's time for Mercedes to lose. She shouldn't have all the belts. We'll talk more about this next week, but the most successful people in wrestling over the last 5 years, and I'm just going to say that this is a fact. This is a fact. The most successful gimmicks in wrestling the last 5 years been when people, top of the card talents, do not lose ever. Roman Reigns not losing. You'd go on X and everyone's like, I can't believe he beat Kevin Owens again. I can't believe he beat Drew McIntyre again. This run is stale. We're sick of it. The numbers didn't say everyone was sick of it. He went like 3 years without getting pinned. Rhea Ripley was never hotter than when she just never lost, right? In fact, losing has cooled her off a little bit. Mercedes hasn't lost, and it's beginning to build, and you have to stick with it and commit to it. Even a year is not that long. Again, Roman Reigns went, 3 years without losing?
Yeah. He
I'm
lost
not
to
saying
Jey
three.
Uso.
Yeah, I'm not saying 3 years without losing. What I am saying, though, is you're just deep enough now to start to get people to pay money because they really freaking want to see her lose. It's not when you pull the parachute, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll make this one simple. Jamie Hayter is a phenomenal talent, and I'm a huge fan of hers. He's just not hot enough to be the one to beat Mercedes right now. They, by their
They
own
got work
doing,
to do.
by their own doing, she's not as over as she used to be.
Yeah.
He should not be the one to try to jumpstart her career again with a win. This is too big of a win. To me, you got to let Mercedes win the Owen Hart. That adds to her belt collecting. It's a gimmick, you know, like Timeless Tony Storm is a gimmick. Like she went to the Turner Movie Festival or Turner Classics Festival in Timeless Tony Storm gimmick. You know, EO's gimmick is I'm the best wrestler. I'm going to wrestle anybody. Mercedes is I'm the belt collector. That's the gimmick. She has to win the Owen Hart. She has to go and fight Tony Storm in All In. She has to beat Tony Storm in All In. She has to then have her belts for a while, a little bit, I don't know, 3-4 months maybe. And when she loses, she's going to lose everything. And that's how you're going to restart her babyface run. She's going to fall all the way, and then she's going to have to build it back up. And that's the story. Because if you kind of think they're doing that sort of with Roman Reigns, right? He's lost 2 WrestleManias in a row. Okay? He's lost 2. He lost his Wise Man. he lost his tribe or whatever. He's a guy by himself. Mercedes, it's the same story, but with her belts. One belt's gone, two belts gone, three belts gone. She's going to keep losing her titles. And that is how the fall and then the rise of her babyface character happens. And I have always said this, and I am the only one who's going to say this. The person who should beat her for the first time is Harley Cameron. To me, that is their supernova. WWE has Stephanie Vaquer. I think AEW's supernova is Harley Cameron. I think
You'd
Harley
have her drop
Cameron,
the
yes,
TBS belt to her after she wins, where she has both of them.
yes, I would.
Um, no, I think it could be incredibly interesting television to watch after what will be a year, 3 years, where Mercedes is sitting there and you got her on TV and she's like, I haven't wrestled a match where a belt wasn't involved or going to be involved, a tournament for a belt and or a belt was on the line. She hasn't wrestled a single match, singles. There's the 2 tag matches, but she's wrestled every match she's wrestled since she left WWE. She's either been the champion with belts, whether they were on the line or not. She's had belts, or she's wrestling for another accolade, right? She had the Resurgence tournament where she got hurt. Yeah, the Stephanie match wasn't for a belt, but it was part of the tournament, just like the Athena match and this Jamie Hayter. Well, the Jamie Hayter match is for the belt. So it can be a very well told fall from grace story. Okay, and will be exciting tomorrow. I wonder how hard they'll go. I think they'll go hard. I wonder if they'll have a regular finish or not. Probably
Does
not. I would
Roxanne
lean
does
toward
Roxanne win?
Io could afford to lose, but I don't know what their plans are with Roxanne anymore, to be honest with you. She's 3-15 this year. I'd love it if Roxanne won, honestly, because if you're gonna make her matter on the main roster, they did so good when she beat Raquel. She was so over with that crowd, and then the stop start with Bailey and Cora and just back and forth hasn't been good. So, I mean, you're an EO fan. What do you think if Roxanne beats her? What do you think? I'm not
Roxanne,
not that I'm
if
not an EO fan, but
no, no. If I was booking at Roxanne, I would have Roxanne beat her with Julia's help, and that's how I would establish Roxanne and Julia as players. To me, this is how I would do it. I would have Roxanne in EO because of Julia. I would have EO go to Nick Aldis or Adam Pierce, whoever the GM is, and say, I want both of them in a 3-way. I'll put my belt on the line against both of them. I'm a fighting champion. And at Backlash, you get a 3-way. Roxanne and Julia and versus or EO versus Roxanne versus Julia. And to me, EO will win at Backlash, and that's how she keeps her title. And to me, it's that simple. Like EO can afford to lose. Roxanne needs a win. Roxanne is becoming an enhancement talent at this point. Like
yeah,
Roxanne has lost to Stephanie, Julia, EO,
Cora, right? For
Cora, yeah,
Bailey,
Bailey, Cora,
Kalani Jordan,
Kalani Jordan.
Jordan
She's lost
Grace.
Jordan Grace. She's lost to a lot of people. And honestly, like I think the only person she beat is Raquel. Like I
Yeah.
think that's the one time she won to get into the elimination chamber, and she lost in that too to Alexa Bliss. To me, you got to establish Roxanne as an A player. Now, is Roxanne going to win the title? No, she's not going to be EO for the title. It's too soon for that. They gotta do work with Roxanne. She's not as believable, but a win on Raw, it doesn't hurt EO, especially if they're going to have the title match. Then it doesn't hurt EO. Then it makes sense. She pinned the champ. She should get a title match, and EO will get her win back. Like I'm not worried anymore about IYO Sky's booking. Like maybe a year ago, I was concerned. I'm not concerned anymore. She's clearly one of their premier women's talents that they're going to push.
You were concerned about her booking a month ago, but I think it's been a good month.
Well, no.
No, I'm
Okay,
saying it's a joke,
when
but
did she
you
beat
know, the
Rhea?
Mania thing.
When did she beat Rhea? February, right? She beat Rhea in February because
Or was it March?
she was the champion before they went to Europe, right? She won in the match in Buffalo. So I think it was like the end of February, but like up until the February match with Rhea, I was worried because she
Yeah.
lost to Lyra and she lost to Liv, and she was in tag matches. But then once she beat Rhea, for whatever reason, they flipped the switch with her. Like not only did she beat Rhea and Bianca, and she beat Bianca at WrestleMania. And now she's like she's on her own roll. But yeah, I think Roxanne should win. That's how I would book it. As we wrap here, do we want to talk a little bit, maybe 2 minutes on SmackDown? Did you watch
I did.
the women main evented? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, they're doing a good job trying to introduce some outside factors into the formula. Um, Something I'll call out, AEW and WWE for is sometimes the stories have been good, but the formulas have been so easy to uncover. It's like A to B to C, and you kind of know who's getting the belt next. That's what's been so inspiring about the EO booking is you wouldn't have guessed she was going to go into Mania as champion. She was going to retain. None of that was in the cards in January and the beginning of February. No one was guessing that.
Nope.
Maybe some people were guessing the triple threat, but no one was saying she was going to win ahead and retain. No one was guessing that. She
We
was going to
only
win
got to
ahead
the
and lose to
but we only
Bianca.
got to yeah, we only got to the triple threat, Billy, because she won the title. Like until she won the title, I had no faith that she was gonna. I was worried she'd even make the Mania card.
And then on the AEW side, you knew Tony was going to lose to Mariah, then you knew Mariah was going to lose to Tony. Little bit less known right now. Is it going to be Jamie? Is it going to be Mercedes? Uh, but no, they did a good job. I don't think Tiffany would be losing to Nia. And I
Oh,
love this idea that Jade's like, hey, I won at Mania. Why am I not? I'm done. I'm personally done with Naomi. I would like to move on in my life. That's how a normal competitive person. They're booking Jade very human, and I appreciate that. She's still got like she's getting reps in the ring. I think it's good. I think she needs to be wrestling 2, 3 times a
mhm.
month for sure. But they're booking her normal as they book anyone, and that is, hey, I know I got this crazy person, but I beat her, and like I'm done. I would like to win titles and belts and stuff. So stop ignoring me. And she's making herself involved, and uh, I think that's good booking. Instead of some of these times when you get someone who's trying to derail you, you let them derail you. So I think it's
I,
been good. It's
I,
good for Tiffany.
I've actually enjoyed Tiffany's booking after Mania. She's very over. I mean, she's very over. I mean, she even did the dance, the Tiffy time dance when they were chanting. She's super over. So you can't take the belt off Tiffany. To me, Tiffany should only lose the belt. She won it via Money in the Bank cash in. She should lose it via Money in the Bank cash in. And that person should be Naomi. I don't think there's a more compelling women's wrestling character other than Timeless Tony Storm than Naomi. Naomi is
Yeah.
on fire. I love every promo she does. She's amazing. She's killing the role. She should get the belt from Tiffany. To me, that's the perfect thing. Tiffany costed Naomi the title because of her cash in. Naomi returns the favor. I think it's a perfect story. And I think Tiffany needs two or three more title defenses under her belt to say this has been a nice first successful title run for her. January to like July, August, where she basically has beaten everybody. I think that's okay for her to lose it to a cash in. So,
Yeah,
um, yeah.
Money in the Bank is coming sooner than people think.
June
But
7th.
June 7th, so we're just a month away. I think Naomi should win, and I think she should cash in fairly soon. I don't think it should be a long, drawn out process on that one. Maybe not the night she wins it, but July, like you said, would be good. Um, I just got to say, not happy with some of the stuff, that she did being involved in the roast that, I think makes it hard to be a WWE fan, to give them money when they do disgusting things like what we've heard came out of the roast, and Nia Jax was involved in that. Um, they're going to keep putting her on TV because from a pure booking the show perspective, she's the most effective woman they have in all of WWE at getting the straight up booed fan
Yep.
reaction.
She's a great heel.
Charlotte gets booed, but it is a little bit more go away ish than I would like. But WWE's having issues getting their heels properly booed at the right moments when you want them booed, and Nia was booed exactly in everything she did got booed exactly the way that it should. Like Seth and Braun are having trouble getting booed. They even beat up poor Sami Zayn, which is usually you're going to get booed because Sammy's such a white meat baby face. And they didn't get booed. Uh, she's back, and I think she'll be around because I'm sure the people backstage are saying for Tiffany to be the face, and she struggled a little bit there. They get the exact reaction for Tiffany that they want when Nia's involved.
But they
Exactly what
got
they want.
but they got the reaction for Tiffany from Charlotte, which they were shocked about, right? Like they thought there would be like a split crowd because it's Charlotte Flair. Charlotte
Yeah.
got overwhelmingly booed, but to your point, it's not the type of booing you want. It's the uh-oh, what do we do here? Like they don't like her, but they want her to go away. Becky has not gotten booed to the degree they need her to be an effective heel. She's gonna get
Right.
cheered. She's gonna beat Lyra for the IC title. Oh, by the way, Backlash is next Sunday.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. If Tiffany doesn't have an opponent for Backlash right now, because Nia Jade, the winner, fights Tiffany, they haven't even announced Tiffany on Backlash. Is Backlash a one woman's match card?
Looks like it. That would be my guess.
Okay, so I'm gonna take it you're picking Becky to win that title. That's your prediction.
Oh, I'm going to say something snarky, and I shouldn't, but I'm gonna. You know, Becky's idea of getting someone hotter than ever is certainly to beat them first. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Becky's a little Becky is 2016 Charlotte Flair. I got to get the title and then they can get hotter.
look,
That's how she thinks now.
well, there's a woman in Japan who I think is one of the best women's wrestlers of all time that I think, put it this way, Becky looks like a willing jobber compared to her with her comments. And we have not touched on it yet because we do cover the positive aspects of it. But we have to be fair. And maybe we'll cover it next week in depth. But Mayu Iwatani left Stardom. She is now in Marigold, which is run by the old Stardom boss, which is Rossi. On her way out, he gave one of the all-time greatest, funniest, why did she just say that press conferences ever?
Yeah.
She said there was nothing left for me to do in Stardom. And so I decided I want to lose now because I was leaving. So she's basically said, hey, I wasn't really going to lose, but I'm leaving, so I'll lose now. Okay. She comes to Marigold and says, I want to be the savior of Marigold. Okay. And I want to show them how to actually wrestle because there's a lot of botches and a lot of mistakes that happen. So she's come into a new company and said, my coworkers, they kind of suck. And I'm going to
But
come
I
here
can
and
help
say
them.
I can help them. And look, I am not reporting this. You can go on Twitter, you can go to Reddit boards, you can go and Google things like sleepwalking Mayu or Undertaker Mayu or half speed Mayu. Like, she's very famous for being very difficult to do business with, including arguably in the history of North America, in history of professional wrestling, the Mount Rushmore. This woman is on it, which is Mercedes Moné. He wouldn't do business with her. He wouldn't put her over and won when they had their match, to the point where Mercedes has said multiple times, I won't wrestle her again.
Not in.
So
She didn't say it like that, but people are like, "You want to wrestle Mayu Iwatani?" And she was like, "Nope."
she said in one of the tweets, I will never wrestle her again. He did say that. He actually typed that out. So what I'm saying here is, we as wrestling fans, and even more the wrestling media, you got to be fair here. There's a nasty, stupid rumor that Mercedes Moné has creative control. She does not. He does not have creative control.
Not at all.
Mayu Iwatani, if somebody told me I think she has creative control, because she's basically saying, I'll lose when I want to lose. I'll win when I want to win. And I can say whatever I want, and there's no consequence. Think of if Mercedes Moné or Becky Lynch or Tiffany or Io said, yeah, I'm going to NXT because they botch a lot and I'm going to go and help them. What if Io said that? She would
Yeah.
be cooked. Mayu said that out of her own mouth. This is not me paraphrasing. She said it. No, nobody covered it. Nobody covered it. I think that's a double standard. And I am a huge, in fact, let's go back and check the tape. I put Mayu as my number one wrestler last year. I honestly regret that decision, because I don't think this is healthy for the growth of women's wrestling, stuff like this. That's just my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. No. We can maybe talk more about Mayu next week. But Becky, like I said, I was going to get snarky. There's no story to tell here if she just loses to Lyra right away. So, like, okay, so they start the feud 2 weeks ago. We're shotgunning it to a pay-per-view, right? I mean, this is a quick turnaround for a pay-per-view anyway. So they don't have a lot of. Usually, Backlash has pre-WrestleMania storylines getting.
Yep.
This is a completely fresh storyline that has only been up for 3 weeks. Becky just got back. She just turned. She's not losing. Just not losing. The bigger question is, will Lyra get the belt back from her? That's the bigger question. The bigger question is, does Becky beat her? And does Becky beat her again and move on to something else? Or does Lyra get the belt back? I'm not saying Lyra should get the belt back. She's the inaugural champion. She's had it for a while. She's defended it several times. Dakota, Bailey. Becky's fans would have you believe that there's a long-term pot of gold at the end of the rainbow for Lyra, not to go too on the nose with my Irish ancestry as well. But I don't think that's the case. I think Becky beats her, and I think probably beats her again on a Raw at some point, and then feuds with Bailey probably.
I'm a huge Becky Lynch fan. She's one of my 5 favorite women's wrestlers of all time. But if the story of Bailey getting knocked out, her coming back at Mania, winning the tag titles, losing the tag titles, and winning the IC title, this has been reported. It's her idea. This was all her idea. If this is legitimately her idea, I have to view her a little bit different, because, as I said 2 weeks ago, he is now developing a track record of this. He did it to Bianca. He's done it. I mean, we can go back and forth on 2019 Hell in a Cell. Should she have lost to Sasha Banks? We could go back and forth on the walkout, right? The Naomi Sasha walkout was because Becky didn't want to lose or do the match with Bianca on the show. So they said, well, we're going to do the 6-person. And because Becky's like, well, I want to do my match at SummerSlam. So, like, these are reported instances. And look, he has the power. Cool. Like, I guess she earned the power. But everybody knows this who is a professional wrestler. I've interviewed many professional wrestlers. They've all told me this. You're only as good as the next person who you make to come behind you. You can't it can't always be about you. You have to be selfless. And I've always said the best quality about Mercedes Moné, the best quality, is despite all this nonsense about her and the titles and hoarding them, he's one of the most selfless top performers of all time.
Yeah.
Like, she changed the finish of a match with Willow Nightingale because she knew she got injured and felt like Willow should win the belt and it would help propel Willow. He could have easily gone with this finish, did what she was told, and said, oh, well, I was just doing what I was told. But she said, no, I'm Mercedes Moné. I'm going to do this because it's the better of our business. And, like, I'm sorry to say, but whether it's Randy Savage, whether it's Eddie Guerrero, those are the type of Bret Hart, like, that's what they did, and Mercedes doing that, I give her all the praise for that, because I got to be honest, I don't think Becky Lynch is doing that.
I hate how underreported it is, and I'll say it till I'm blue in the face. Go back and watch Mercedes get hurt. She gets in the ring, gets Willow in like the worst backstabber ever. She has said twice now, she thought it might be sprained and she could work through it. She does the backstabber and she goes, no, I'm very hurt. Willow in the maker. Post injury. General in the ring, she could have whispered to Willow, I need you to tap, I'm hurt. Thought could have been, I need you to tap, I'm winning. A position where it's acceptable for me to win. To tap. And instead her thought was, we need to flip this match on its head. I need to take more punishment while I'm hurt, and we need to get to a place where you win this match. Not only has she said that, Willow said that. So, never going to convince me that this woman is not selfless and willing to give back to the business, because she will never get it back that she was not the inaugural champion that she was supposed to be.
She is a belt that was actually made for her, by the way. Like a belt that was made for her. But no, she's one of the most selfless performers. The reason we do this podcast and we have to be a voice of reason is because there's just way too much nonsense that surrounds her. Like, this creative control thing has been rebuked multiple times. She has input in her character. She has a writer she brought over from WWE. Oh, by the way, that writer, when the last creative person got let go from TKO, WWE said, I made the right decision. So, I don't know why Mercedes gets credit for having all this power when the person, in my opinion, in all of women's wrestling who has the power is Mayu Iwatani. She has the power. And she says she has the power. Like, she doesn't even hide it. Like,
she used it on Mercedes. She has more power than Mercedes. She's like, give me that belt.
Yeah, I want the belt. I'm not. And then they said, but this belt has to travel to America. And she's like, I don't really want to go to America, but I want the belt. Oh, okay, cool.
An American belt.
And that's the thing. It hurts me because I'm a huge fan of hers, and I think she is a magnificent performer. But those things do. I understand if people rate her below the Mercedes EO Stephanie tier, because those things do matter. Like, look, she's one of your favorites. Stephanie Vaquer's only loss on WWE TV was to Shotzi Blackheart, which if I was a promoter hiring Shotzi, that's what I'd put under the bullet point. Only person to beat Stephanie Vaquer.
Stephanie Vaquer's last loss. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, that's what I would do. But yeah, so we've come to the end. This is a great episode. We covered a lot of topics. We, with the lull that we kind of have right now, and look, let's be honest here. I mean, you got 150,000 views for a tweet about saying Backlash was a 10,000 pack of ass, not 10, 10,000 pack. Or did you say 10?
I said 10. 10 pack
Okay,
of
okay,
ass.
10, 10. And it got like, how many views do you have that tweet?
I'd have to find it, but it was the most interacted with tweet I've had.
Ever?
I've had interactions with Mercedes that didn't get that much traction.
I saw that. I told you this, like, as we wrapped here, I saw that on Reddit boards, like what they're saying about Backlash. And I'm like, wait, I know him. Why is his? I'm like, holy cow. Like, it was on Reddit boards that were making fun of how crappy the Backlash card was. And that was one of the tweets. And so what I'm saying is, because Backlash looks like a nothing show, they have the one women's match, but I got to be honest, even the men's matches, I'm not enamored with. I stopped watching WWE. This is a true story. I stopped watching WWE because of John Cena versus Randy Orton. I got so tired of it because of that. They're going to give it to me in 2025. Like, no. And I know, Michael, you watch our podcast or you listen to it every week. Michael lives here in my city in El Paso. Michael, I know John Cena is your GOAT. Nobody, if they're being honest with themselves in 2025, wants to see John Cena and Randy Orton fight. Nobody, if they're being honest. If they're lying, they want to see it. But yeah.
No, it's funny is I had two tweets that had a ton of interaction the last week. I just looked. The 10 pack of ass one has 180,000 views. I'm not a big account, so that's a lot for me. My
That's a
most liked
lot.
tweet is actually not that one. This tweet only has 7,400 views, but a lot of people have interacted with it. I said WWE fans calling Mercedes money hungry. Well, the company they love charges people $40,000 for a SummerSlam package is funny as hell to me. That is my third most liked tweet of all time, believe it or not. But
That was a great tweet too. So what I was saying is, I think for the summer, we are going to cover the in-ring product of not only WWE and AEW, but wherever we can find, these amazing women performers. But we're also going to kind of seep into doing the business aspect. And I think, like a women's wrestling promotion topic is coming for us, like how we would build it, who we would hire, a draft almost. Like, I think that's definitely in the works. But
for sure,
more to come. Great week of content we're going to give you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hopefully you like the reporting I did about Stephanie and, kind of this, as I call her,
great
Supernova
work.
Stephanie.
Really, really good work.
So on that note, we will talk to you guys next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Stop.